This is Gotham TV Podcast, episode 115, about Gotham, A Dark Knight Season 4. We're doing our Season 4 recap with the Legends of Gotham. So this is Legends of Gotham TV Podcast, episode 4.
I'm David Mazuz, and you're listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
This is Drew Powell, and you're listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
This is Robin Lloyd Taylor, and you are listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
Yes, welcome back, Gothamites. If you don't know yet, since Drew and Robin and David did introduce us, this is Gotham TV Podcast, but we're not alone this week. I am one of your hosts, Derek.
Hi, I'm one of your other hosts, John. And we are joined here by our Legends of Gotham hosts as well, or ex-hosts, Anne-Marie and Bill. Welcome.
Welcome to Legends of Gotham, where we talk about the series Gotham, home of Gotham.
Gotham.
Yay,
there you go.
What year is it? How's it going, guys?
Good, doing great. Yeah, great to have you guys with us. It's been a long time.
Thanks for having us.
Definitely. Well, it doesn't feel like that long to me because I've actually been listening to you guys' podcasts since we don't do one anymore. I was like, I need some Gotham in my life. So, you guys have been doing a great job. You've been doing a great job. I think you've definitely stepped into Legends of Gotham's shoes as my favorite Gotham podcast. So.
Excellent.
That's saying a lot.
That's brilliant.
Well, yes, if you don't know, listeners, Legends of Gotham was a Gotham podcast for the first 3 seasons of the show. They run at the American pace, which we eventually stepped up and took over for season 4. So yes, we did kind of take your shoes rather than step into your shoes.
We gave them over willingly.
Okay.
Yes.
We gave them over.
We also put some deodorizer on them and stuff so they weren't too stinky.
Just so thoughtful.
Yes, my feet haven't been the same since.
Nor should they be.
Yeah, season 4 of Gotham. First half has already gone through, and we'll be getting the second half there from the 1st of March with episode 12, Pieces of a Broken Mirror. And yeah, we'll be covering it here on Gotham TV Podcast. And it's really good that we can look back at the first 11 episodes of Gotham Season 4 with Anne-Marie and Bill from Legends of Gotham.
Yes, really important question. Anne-Marie and Bill, did you watch the first half of Season 4?
Yeah. Otherwise...
Twice. We watched it as it aired, and then in the past 2 days, we have watched all 11 episodes again, back to back.
Because unlike you guys who have the advantage of you're doing these podcast episodes, you're probably watching them a couple times in a row. Since we weren't doing the podcast this year, we kind of watched it on Thursday night, and then it just kind of flew out the back of our heads. So we had to catch up a little bit over the past day or so. But really good season overall.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, really enjoyed this first half of the season. And I'm really excited to see what comes for the second half. Absolutely. You guys, I presume, are sort of chomping at the bit to see what comes? It looks like more chaos. So. It definitely looks like more chaos and like craziness, which I think they've grooved quite well, actually.
Oh, yeah, and it definitely feels like this next half of the season is going to focus very pointedly on the villains, which I'm very excited about. Not to get into spoilery territory, but there are some characters coming back. Well, I guess we saw him at the end of the mid-season finale. So, yeah, Jerome's going to be back, which is awesome. And it seems like the villains are all going to be just teaming up, which is really cool. Finally, a Justice League of villains, I guess, or a Rogues Gallery, if you will.
Yes, very excited to see that, and yeah, I'm kind of intrigued because when I think David Mazuz revealed a bit of this, and so did Cameron Monaghan, that there will be a big team up of all the villains we've seen since season 1, and what that does to my head goes, ooh, who are they actually teasing there? Who got killed in season 1 that may be coming back in season 4?
Bring back Fish.
Yeah, Fish needs to come back.
I don't know if that would go so well.
I don't think so either. No.
Maybe we'll get Maroney back.
That would be. I loved Maroni. I liked awesome. Maroni more than Falcone.
Right.
So if they brought him back, that would be awesome.
Maybe zombie Maroni and Falcone, like from the
Zombroni?
dead. Zombroni, yeah.
Zombroni. I like it. That sounds like an Italian dinner.
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
Actually, the way I said it, Zombroni, it sounds like a zombie brony, which isn't exactly what we're going for.
Oh yeah,
That's a whole different kettle of fish.
You guys might know bronies are middle-aged male fans of My Little Pony over here in the States.
Yeah.
So
that would be a very different character for David Sayers to play, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
But I don't think My Little Ponies would last too long with zombies attacking them either.
Probably not.
I
No.
don't think so.
I think the pink...
I don't know. They're resilient.
Yeah, but the pink may turn to red very quickly.
All right, and that gruesome note. Nice kickoff start, John. Just one quick announcement before we go into it. Actually, two quick announcements before we go into our details of our season 4 recap. We are doing our line of the week competition for anybody who has been following along. They've been leaving us their favorite moments of each of the Gotham episodes throughout the season. We'd expected to announce our prize for that during this episode actually, and at the start of the next season. But unfortunately, the makers of the prize have decided to push it back to June of this year, 2018. So we don't even know if we have the prize.
Yeah.
Our prize will be
An IOU.
well, basically, yeah. But for our Oswald Cobblepot Artifacts statue.
Yes.
Pretty cool looking statue if you've seen any images of it. We have some up on the Facebook group a couple of months ago. We'll post them up again. We're really hopeful we can get our hands on one of these because it's been pushed back again. I'm conscious that we have to check our pre-order and make sure it's carried over.
Yeah, if we can't get our hands on one of the statues, well then an IOU is all you're going to get.
Well, maybe we'll get a better price than an IOU, John.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, you guys were saying before the show that if it never ends up being made, that you guys are going to make one yourself and send it out, right?
Yes. It might be made out of
Yeah.
It might be made out of a Dalek statue.
I don't know whether that would work. Well, I mean, we could do some kind of pottery statue where it might look like he is Clayface rather than the paint. Actually, yes, Clayface. That's it.
Nice.
There we go.
I like the other idea too. Just get a Dalek statue and then put a wig on it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's an exclusive Gotham TV
And a
podcast.
brolly.
One-off. Yes. Right. On that note, the other announcement, sorry, very important announcement. We hopefully will be joined by David Mazouz later on this week for a discussion about season 4 so far. He will hopefully be recording with me tomorrow about his thoughts about the show. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast to get that. Hopefully we'll have it out before the first episode of season 4.5, I guess, airs next Thursday, the 1st of March. Very excited to talk to David again.
Yeah, it'd be excellent. Yeah, I can't be there, sadly. Work commitments have meant that I will be in France, but nonetheless, that will be really exciting. We had a really good interview with him at Heroes Villains Fan Fest in London. He was really, really interesting, really articulate, and really just up for a good discussion about the character. So you can definitely check that over on our podcast over at Apple Podcasts. Just head on over to gothamtvpodcast.com/iTunes, which is, I suppose, ye oldie way of saying Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, on that note, I think it's time to get into our discussion about season 4 of Gotham. You guys ready, Anna Marie and Bill?
Yes, indeed.
Good. Anne Marie, do you want to kick us off? What's your overall feeling on the first half of Gotham season 4? How did you feel it went?
Well, that was very bloody.
The question or Gotham season 4?
Yes, all of Gotham. There's so much blood. I don't know if I forgot how much there was, but when we were rewatching, I'm like, and there's a ripped off arm, smack. We're eating people. Oh my goodness! But
I don't think anyone got their eye assaulted this season yet, though.
That's true.
No, there wasn't any eye jabbing.
No.
There was no eye violence.
There was discussion of it, though. They were going to feed them their eyeballs, but it wasn't practical.
That's true. Actually, that had been quite a specific thing for Gotham for the first 3 seasons, wasn't it? It was all about the eyes.
It definitely was.
Yeah, and back on Legends of Gotham, we always focused on it because I have this huge fear of something happening to my eyes. So it was like they were constantly picking at it and exploiting it. That's why we stopped the podcast, actually. No, I'm kidding.
This one's for you, Bill. Yeah. Bill, overall, what's your feelings on the first half?
Overall, I thought it was a very strong season so far. I think maybe it suffered a little bit by trying to introduce too many new characters so late in the series. I mean, obviously, hopefully we have a few more seasons left here. But it just felt like they were trying to introduce too many new faces when we're really wanting to focus more on Bruce because that and I'll get into this a little bit more later, but the end of the second episode with Bruce standing on the building and clicking on the mask and everything, it was just this huge promise for his story over the season, which I don't know if they've delivered on, in part because they've been focusing on these new characters like Sophia Falcone and some of the others. And I mean, that's not to say that I'm complaining about those characters in particular. I just think it's made for a crowded season, and they kind of lost that hook that they got in me in episode 2. But overall, I've liked it. I will say, too, that I think it's Officer Harper at the GCPD.
Yes.
It seems like they keep focusing on her, but they haven't really built her up much as a character. She's been more of a prop. And I'd love to either see her get more focus or, go away and, we just get Bullock back more, something like that. But
I'm terrified they're going to kill her off. I'm terrified they're going to kill her off. They keep killing off all these good characters.
Yeah, there was absolutely that moment where they had focused on her a little bit too much in one of the episodes without giving her anything, as you say, Bill, without giving anything specific to do. A lot of lines coming from her, and it absolutely felt like they were going to kill her. That was the moment. It was one of those Walking Dead type moments where the character appears from the background and then gets killed off in the same episode once you care about them. But luckily, they haven't done that with Harper yet.
Not yet.
If I'm thinking of the same moment you are, it was like they kind of like rolled the camera around to like this hero shot of her, and I was like, okay, she's dead. Yep,
absolutely. John, any other thoughts about season 4 so far?
Yeah, I mean, definitely agree with Bloody. I think I think they really got into a groove actually this season. I really enjoyed it. I thought it's kind of where everything really coalesced into a really strong thing. And it's interesting you say about the whole promise of David Mazouz putting on the hockey mask kind of thing. I thought exactly the same. And of course they kind of pulled him in a different direction, where he kind of went, from that to then suddenly being a killer of Ra's al Ghul, then party animal, guilt-ridden teenager. So they really kind of pulled him back from that a bit. But I know you were saying about all the ensemble, but I really think, I kind of really think that Gotham does ensemble really well. I think, there are so many characters, you're absolutely right, and there is the potential that you do lose some of them, or certain things get forgotten about. I mean, for example, I think Captain Barnes is still in the wind somewhere. He's like, where is he? What's he doing? And of course, they've not spent any time necessarily with where he's gone to hide out, be the executioner or whatever. But I think in the main, they really they're able to flip between so many different storylines in an episode that I'm kind of amazed that they can do it, and it still kind of makes sense actually. So I think that's been really strong. And I've liked seeing I like the Scarecrow coming back, I have to say.
Oh yes. I am certain we may be talking about that in our top 5 points of the season. What do you think, John?
Maybe possible. Just a little. Yeah.
For me, yeah, there are definitely some great introductions of newer characters or returning characters this season. I'm really intrigued by some of the things that have been going on. David Mazouz stepping up, his storyline with Alfred has been fantastic for me this season. I know the promise of a Batman was coming at the start of the season. They set it up. The season's called The Dark Knight, after all. And yeah, they did take that away pretty quickly. But having Ra's al Ghul in there and having a lot of interesting Bruce and Alfred scenes throughout the season, I think made up for it a little bit for me.
Although their second half of season 4 is very bat heavy.
It certainly is.
A lot of bats.
It's looking that way for sure.
Yeah,
very much so.
In the spirit of Round Table.
Yes.
We've gone around, all 4 of us. So back to Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, do you want to give us one of your favourite moments of the season, in season 4 so far?
Okay, so one of my favourite moments of the whole season was Bruce at the auction buying everything in sight while in a character. Like, just going, I'll take that. I just absolutely loved it because he was showing a little bit of that in-control playboy that he sort of becomes as an adult. And maybe it gave him a little too much of enjoying that lifestyle since his little rebellion starts after killing Raj. But I just thought it was really fun that he wasn't scared of Babs and all that coming up to him and everything. Like, it was neat to see that he was being strategic even when Alfred thought he was just, throwing his money around.
Oh yes, that was a fantastic scene. Actually, really, really good, and nice to see Bruce's awareness of it afterwards when he's kind of unloading with Alfred afterwards and saying, "I knew exactly what I was doing. Don't think I'm crazy," kind of thing. That's it's nice to see that side. I know it's something that we were expecting to see this season. Is the other side of Bruce. He can't just be sitting at home training every day. So we're going to see Party Boy Bruce a lot this season.
Yeah,
I very much so.
Definitely. I definitely loved that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was laughing my head off really at it because it was just done so well, and because it's out of character, as you say, because he's being in character for someone else, and so it just made it all the more kind of delicious, really.
So
I think
much fun.
how he did it, and it also just looked like he was having so much fun with it as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
That was definitely the first appearance last season, I think, with the clone Bruce. We called him Yanni Bruce. This season, Bruce is Paris Hilton Bruce.
Yes.
So I think that was like the first glimpse of Paris Hilton Bruce, which I absolutely love. And I'm sure, Bruce Wayne will keep at least a little bit of that in his personality moving forward as he transitions to the Bat.
Yeah. Well, he certainly was, Paris Hilton. There was a lot of drink, a lot of late mornings, definitely.
A little bit of puking in the limo.
Hello, miss.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I think even Alfred had to sort of prime away from two ladies in the same bed. So, I mean,
Yes.
Paris Hilton, absolutely. Wild and wonderful, I suppose, for David Mazouz.
Yes.
Oh, should I say Bruce Wayne, of course. Bill, what's one of your top 5 moments?
Well, my first of the top 5 moments is actually related to Bruce Wayne too, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It's that very ending of episode 2 where he's on the building and he clicks the mask on. It's just it held so much promise for me, and it was like, okay, they're doing it, they're leaning into it. I'm so excited, and it felt like the official start of the mission. The big overarching Batman mission. But then they have the one failure come in, and it sort of sends them down this dark Paris Hilton-esque path. It created a ton of hype for me right there at the beginning of the season. But at this point, I feel like it was a bit of a misstep to pull him back and make him a reluctant hero again, because it felt like at the end of episode 2, it felt like he was fully embracing this destiny. And then one screw up and he's off the grid again. But I mean, I know the kid that getting killed by Roz really didn't help him, nor having to kill Roz himself. But I do hope that this path will eventually lead him down a path that sort of puts him in a rematch with Roz, who isn't dead, and he can kind of, in action on the screen, resolve this inner conflict inside of him moving forward. So that was probably the highest point of the season for me, and it also probably one of my greatest disappointments for the season, that it hasn't quite lived up to the promise of that moment yet.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, after he kills Raz, there is that awesome moment with Skeleton Raz as well, where the skeleton's jaw just drops down in kind of mock shock horror as well as to what's just happened. Yeah. That was classic, I thought.
Oh, definitely. And regardless of what happened on screen, there's no way that character's dead within the larger mythos. I mean, even if he doesn't come back on Gotham, if they ever do like after Gotham novels or books or comics, I'm sure he'll pop back up somewhere.
He's certainly coming back, especially because we had that moment with Aaron Richards' Barbara Keane, where he transfers some sort of essence to her. Just before he gets killed. So
I want to see more of that.
Yes, me too.
I want to know what exactly happened there.
Yeah, what is that yellow glow?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm assuming essence. I'm assuming it's something that she's going to be able to transfer back into him somehow. But I think that's actually coming up. I think that's coming up in about episode 16 of season 4. No spoilers, but I think it's about episode 16. We're expecting to get a little bit more of that coming up.
Excellent.
I definitely know what you mean. I think there's a moment within episode 2, Bill, where Lucius Fox delivers his updated version of the suit to protect Bruce as they open up the box, and the two of them look at Alfred and Bruce look at the new suit that's been there, and that was a really exciting moment. That was probably teased in every trailer that we saw for 3 or 4 months before season 4. So I know what you mean. It was definitely teasing that this is the start of the Bat. He's coming. Still one of the things that I find difficult about accepting accepting that we are going to get Batman is that we haven't seen any bats in the show ever. Not even like, you know, in the local church or anywhere. You know, that's been no bats yet. We need a bat to be Batman, right?
Yeah. Well, I reckon bats are coming.
Yes.
Bats are coming.
My personal theory right now actually is that Scarecrow's going to hit Bruce with some fear gas, and he's going to see bats. I think that's the moment that we've seen in the trailers and stuff so far.
I like it.
That's fear juice.
I like it a lot. Yes,
yeah,
like it a lot. John, do you want to give us one of your top points for that season?
Oh, well, mine is definitely Oink Oink, Professor Pig, and certainly with his meat pie tango as well. I mean, for me, I think this really just linked in with my horror sensibilities. You know, it was that kind of macabreness that he brought to the show, but in that, I think, uniquely Gotham way, where it was delivered with so much panache and kind of a real dark sense of humor. I mean, I just thought he weaved through the first half of the season as well really nicely in terms of, you know, being that front against Gordon at the start, you know, being his adversary, you know, the chase around the Narrows and all that, really delivering some sucker punches to him. It was linking in with the feud between Sophia Falcone and Penguin, which we didn't necessarily think that he was a part of, and you know, where we have that meat pie tango, which is just really just a great nod to Sweeney Todd, you know, the butcher barber of London. Yes. And then, of course, the reveal that he has actually been employed by Sophia Falcone when, you know, the Queen takes night, that final episode. And then, of course, yes, potentially he's dead, but is he really? This is Gotham.
No one's ever dead.
No, yeah. And I really want to see him back because I just thought he added so many piggy layers to this. You know, it was so good. Yeah, and Derek has an interesting theory on the fact that. Well, over to you, Derek, because I can't claim any credit for it at all.
Well, it was just the fact that he had pointed out quite early on in the show, and we mentioned this earlier on for our regular listeners, so I hope you don't mind me repeating it. But the fact that he had left a letter or a note on the wall for Jim Gordon and misspelt his name as Pig rather than PYG, to me kind of would be odd, considering he had a whole creation of why he got his name and why he chose the name Pig, as in Pygmalion, not Pig as in a little piggy.
Oink, oink.
So it would be very bizarre of him to misspell his name on a note.
Yes. And so it could be that the person shot by Jim Gordon is not Professor Pig.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Oh.
There you go.
And certainly with all the facial reconstruction that was happening in the Pig world at the time, that
maybe Pig brought someone else to that doctor's and had them reconstruct their face, and then send in kind of like a dummy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that.
Not far beyond Gotham to do that.
One other possibility, and I can't remember what his relationship to the Falcone family was, but you know, the first time Pig gets punched and his face goes all out of whack, it kind of reminded me of like a Clayface sort of effect.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, maybe that could have been Clayface too. I mean, like I said, I don't remember what his relationship was to the Falcone family.
The last time we saw him, he was working for Ed, trying to drive. Oswald's crazy, right? He dressed him up as his father and tried to drive Oswald crazy. So he is still out there.
Yeah.
So you never know.
Out there just Clayfacing around.
Just Clayfacing around, making himself look like anybody that he wants to look like.
Exactly. I mean,
taking shots to the head.
It's a nice tool in the toolkit to have, isn't it? It's like you can just chuck it in as it was Clayface.
Yes,
perfect.
Absolutely. And always something that we return to quite a lot during the comic books. If ever they wanted to get themselves out of a really sticky jam, it was Clayface that was pretending to be Robin that day for some reason. You know, it's a great way to get people out.
It was nice to also kind of having a revisit of the whole concept of there being a surgeon in Gotham who reconstructs people's faces for them, because I think they set that up in like season 2 or 3, didn't they? Where they there was like an investigation and it kind of glanced them past this doctor who would reconstruct people's faces. So
Yes.
it's kind of nice to have them touch back on that.
Oh, yes. They're getting very good at that. One of the things that we did notice throughout the course of season 4 is that now they kind of have their directors and writers set in stone. Pretty much every episode of season 4 so far, if I'm right, was written by someone who'd at least written an episode previously of Gotham and directed by someone that had directed a previous episode of Gotham or starred in it, as we saw with Ben McKenzie. So they've really got the right people who know this history and know these characters on board to keep it going and keep it feeling like a real city rather than a show just featuring Jim Gordon. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there, Bill.
Derek, what's one of your top 5 moments of this first season?
You know, speaking about comic books and speaking of comic book origins, we got the wonderful Butch Gilzine translation over into Grundy in Slaughter Swamp. I was shocked at how they were able to use the creation of the character back from the 40s, back to the 50s and 40s, and create this character of Grundy as interestingly as they did. I thought it was so much fun. It really felt like they were going all out to show that they can do proper moments from the comic. It's almost like there's bits of it where you can look panel versus screen, and they did a great job with it. Having Drew Powell change over into Grundy is a bit weird, and the fact that he's starting to change back at the end of this season is also a bit weird. But that was with the aid of quite heavy lead piping from from his wonderful ex-girlfriend, who is willing to do anything to get her man back.
Yeah, including beat him repeatedly around the head.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
Hey, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
True love. True love.
But I really enjoyed it, and it led into probably my favourite character interactions this season, which is really between our new Ed, Nigma, this now kind of softer Ed Nigma who's lost his mind a little bit, and the stupider Grundy, who's not realised everything that Ed's done to him in the past. And they have this really interesting, fun relationship, fun friendship, also involving Leslie Tompkins. So what Gruninkins, is that where we eventually landed on our threesome there?
I think so.
Oh, you guys shipping Leslie and Grundy?
Oh, all three. So it's Gruninkins is our grouping there.
Yeah, it's a grouping.
Quite a crowded fight club is, I think, the way you guys say it over there.
There you go.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's funny. I did feel sorry that he was sort of like, obviously because it's Grundy and the character, but that he was kind of limited to me Grundy all the time.
Yeah.
As an actor, I suppose you want to move towards Shakespeare, and this kind of did the reverse. But I think there's still so much depth, and I suppose just there was so much kind of. I mean, we've got a bit of a special place for Drew Powell, and I think he really did. Certainly, as it moved forward, it went beyond that, and you had the bloody arm beatings. You had his relationship with Ed and Leslie Tompkins, and then obviously when the Tigress comes in and is trying to find the person that she used to love and care for. Yeah. So it did work out really nicely, but I'm glad it didn't just do the me Grundy, you Jane, or something like that.
Very. He gave him an opportunity to do a lot of physical acting, though. Like, while he didn't have much lines to work with, his physicality was so different from being Butch to being Grundy that it was really neat to see the transition, especially then at the end when he sort of is slipping back into Butch. It gives a journey itself, just in the physicality.
Exactly.
Yeah, honestly, if I have one complaint about the way Grundy went down, it's just that it's being played by the same actor who played Butch, which we've come to know and love over the years. So it just feels a little bit like, oh, he's being wasted here. But at the same token, if they had just brought in a new actor to play the character, wouldn't have that same complaint. We'd be going on and on and on about how awesome Grundy is and how comics accurate he is.
Yes.
So I mean, if there's one complaint, it's just that, man, I kind of miss that Butch guy. I wish he'd show up every once in a while, which he did that one little instant.
Yes. And he does have another line as well, John, actually, come to think of it. He does have Pretty Lady, which he calls Tabitha.
Yes.
So he's got a few more lines.
Pretty lady.
He just doubled his paycheck.
There you go. Well, he did get his center of cast at the start of season 4, so he's now a main regular on the show. So we will be seeing Grundy for quite a while ahead. But I'm wondering how they're going to resolve it. I'm wondering how they're going to see, will we get him Grundy body with Butch Gilzine brain for a little while.
That'd be interesting. I kind of hope so, actually.
He could become a bouncer in Vegas like the Hulk did back in the 90s, if you guys remember that.
I like it. Very nice. Very nice. Anne-Marie, do you want to take us on with another point for season 4?
Yes. This actually kind of leads into it. I love Lee becoming Queen of the Narrows.
Oh, yes.
And it's by far my favorite version of Lee. It gives her a little bit of something. Like, she still has her doctor compassion that she's always had, but she gets a little grittier. She's constantly drinking from a flask, but she's taking responsibility for what she did under the Tetch virus, and she's defending them. She's improving them, and this is either going to go really, really nice, or it will literally blow up in her face. And I'm kind of interested to see what direction that's going to go.
Do you know,
like,
it's Gotham.
The poison antidote trick was so funny. Like, here, catch. There you go.
Yeah, that was really, really good. And yeah, I think one of the comments we made about her was it's not kind of nice to see her separated from Jim Gordon this season. Some of our listeners were talking about it as well, saying that they kind of had this whole rebending thing between Leslie and Jim over and over again. Kind of felt like a waste of Leslie Tompkins' character, and giving her something else to do this season has been so much fun, and she's really been, you can tell she's been enjoying it. It's as if they kind of went on the show, we've obviously let you guys be together way too much since you're now married, so we need to separate you two away.
Exactly.
Plus, I think this is like the biggest kick in the butt the character's gotten towards the version of Leslie we know from the comics, where she's a doctor with the downtrodden, taking care of people who don't have any other way to help themselves.
Yes.
So I thought that was very important, and because the entire series, really, since she came onto the show, I've been like, how are they going to get this character positioned over to where she can, be helping out the poor and helping out Batman when he needs it? And I think, this season definitely got her 70% of the way there. So I'm interested to see that last 30%.
Very true. Very true. And I wonder, will we see a relationship struck up with the former butler at Wayne Manor?
Ooh.
And Leslie Tompkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, because their first
that.
meeting, Alfred was kind of flirting with her, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
I like that.
There would be a bit of a turnaround. And actually, because Alfred's been kicked out of Wayne Manor, he's kind of living on the streets a bit. He's cardboard boxing it under a few railway arches at the moment. So, that could be down by the Narrows. So you never know. He could get taken in by Leslie. And there could be, some sweet romance.
You never know.
I like that theory because it provides a lot of awkwardness for the characters on the screen as well as the actors on set, since Ben and her married and everything.
Don't you dare kiss my wife.
All around.
Always like awkwardness on the screen, definitely. No, that's a really good one. I totally agree with you, Anne-Marie. That's a high point for this season, is giving Leslie something quite significant to do in the show. It's been really enjoyable to watch her.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
Bill, do you have a second one?
No, that was my only moment for the season. Sorry.
Just one. That's it.
No, but this is a bit of a repeat, but it's like a folk acoustic cover of a rock and roll song. So my second top moment is the Solomon Grundy Nigma team up.
Oh, yes.
Now, the reason I love this so much is because I love contrast. And now with Ed being sort of maybe intentionally dumb for the first part of the season, I thought teaming him up with Grundy was a really brilliant way to still make him seem like the smartest guy in the room, even though the scale came down a little bit. Like I said, it feels like a bit of a waste of an actor for Drew Powell, but I feel like they're leading somewhere with it, so I'm going to let it stand. But I also really just love that it allowed them to introduce the whole setting of that fight club within the Narrows, because Gotham never feels more Gotham than when there's a bunch of rapscallion ne'er-do-wells, in an underground bunker watching two people beat the hell out of each other.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and we got a lot of that this season, and even just like little moments they had in there, like the penguin pantomiming that Ed did. I was just brilliant. Like I saw so many moments just from that pantomiming where I was like, this would have been our album cover artwork if we were still doing the podcast. Just that silhouette on the ring, just beautiful.
That was perfect.
Beautiful. But yeah, and overall, it's just, while a lot of the other characters were making the major motions in the season, it really gave a good way to have Ed kind of stand out there front and center and kind of get more defined down on who the Riddler is. And I think that's where they're leading for the second half of the season. That, where he was very sure of himself in last season's episodes, and he thought he knew who the Riddler was. I think this is finally going to allow him to become the Riddler that we all know from the comics, and he's not going to be self-doubting. He's not going to have, these love triangles with Penguin to sort out and everything, and we're going to see him fully revealed in some sort of big way before the end of the season, I'm hoping.
Oh, like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah,
I like it.
I definitely agree that the Riddler needs to stand alone as well, and I think that'd be really good to see that kind of separation with the Penguin, because I think that was really good, but it's only so far you can probably take that. I think, but
Exactly.
And I'm sure there's fan fictions out there who have taken it that far and further. So.
That's very true, and lots of them, and lots of people on Twitter who are very unhappy with Ed and Leslie Tompkins' relationship at the moment as well, unfortunately. But I'm thinking the new love triangle is going to be Alfred and Ed, and Leslie Tompkins obviously being the head of that triangle. There you go. That's
wow.
Well, now
like
that
it.
we have Mirror Ed back again, this should be definitely taking a quick turn somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about Paris Hilton, but this is sounding like the Kardashians, I think.
All I'm going to say is the only characters I've been shipping this season are Grundy and Dog Boy. That's it.
Oh, yes.
Oh, dog boy.
Poor Dog Boy. Love it. John, do you want to take us on with your next point about Gotham Season 4?
I am. It's kind of slightly bittersweet, I suppose. I think I absolutely loved the Scarecrow returning, and I just wish they had done more in the first half of the season with him. I really liked Charlie Tahan as Jonathan Crane back in, was it season 2 now? Season 1. Yeah,
it was season 1.
Yeah, I love those 2 episodes of him and his father, and just seeing, that kind of start to the Scarecrow, and to see him come back, I think at the start, in fact, in episode 1, really good. Continues into episode 2, and I really thought you need to have the Halloween episode with Scarecrow here.
Yes,
and of course they didn't, and then he kind of just faded away from the rest of the season. It's almost a bit like with what you were saying, Bill, about Bruce. There was the promise of Bruce on top of the building, and I think here you had the promise of Jonathan Crane as the Scarecrow, just wreaking havoc in Gotham. I mean, I loved the clowns in Arkham Asylum to Warden Reed, where he's gassed him. I just thought that was a really good bit of filming. Like some of the imagery of it, again, connecting in with my kind of horror sensibilities, but I absolutely thought it was fantastic. And I think Charlie Tahan really kind of, when he had the mask off, he really kind of showed that kind of pain and turmoil that Jonathan Crane ultimately was in. He had a really great expression that he acted and he could put on his face that really kind of showed that he was just as scared as this thing in his mind as anyone else. And as well, I think another bittersweet part of that for me would just be, I suppose if he's going to have the mask on full time, yes, you don't necessarily need Charlie Tahan, but we will get David W. Thompson as the new Scarecrow behind the mask. So I'm really interested to see how he kind of takes that character, because I think for me, I really enjoyed how there was a fairly tragic figure of Jonathan Crane, played by Charlie Tahan, behind that monster that is the Scarecrow, and just what craziness he can, inject into Gotham. And it'd be interesting. I really hope your theory pans out, actually, Bill, that he is the one that gives the Batman the bat scare, basically. That'd be excellent.
Oh, definitely. And I think, the creators have said that specifically the last half of the season is very inspired by I think it might have been Jeff Loeb who did The Long Halloween?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's very influenced by The Long Halloween, which Scarecrow has a big part in, obviously. And, we're not obviously Gotham isn't taking place day and date of the day it airs. So I mean, I think we still have an opportunity for maybe like a big Scarecrow Halloween episode. That would be nice. I mean, obviously I'm not as caught up on the news as you guys are, so they might have already released all the episode descriptions for the rest of the season, and this possibility has been eliminated. But I do see that possibility there.
Yeah. I think it's the show is lending itself definitely more towards having a Halloween episode rather than a Christmas special, for example. We did get our musical episode with Professor Pig as we talked about before, but if you're going to lean into something for Gotham, I think it has to be a Halloween episode. And I think the last arc of the Scarecrow in the show aired somewhere on the 16th of October, and you're going, why didn't you have a break there and put it on Halloween? Why not?
Yeah.
I don't want to work so well. That would be an annual tradition. Then you'd have your Halloween episode for Gotham. Be kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be nice, because I mean, a lot of the horror influenced or Halloween Batman stories are some of the best stories they've ever told. So I mean, they'd be a fool not to at least get one out before the series is over.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Derek, what's your next point?
We are going to run out of points for this season pretty
we're
darn
not.
quickly, aren't we? But I'm going to take one that I'm sure somebody else wants to talk about. I'm really sorry, but I loved a very new character that came into the show. Very new because he's only about 9 years old.
You've just taken mine.
There you go,
haven't
Sean.
Yeah,
we do that all the time. It's okay. Yes, little Martine, who we mispronounced almost every episode.
Martin.
Martine. I loved this character's introduction because it was so necessary for Oswald's character to have this view of him from outside. This kind of concept of somebody else trying to learn from him, and him getting so protective of this young creature in his care that he decided to blow him up to hide the fact that he was sending him away from the city and putting him into protective custody. So you do get a bit of Oswald's heart opening, which we haven't seen for a few seasons. We've seen him being very manipulative of everything going on around him, but I just don't think the series could have continued the way it was going with Oswald if Martine hadn't been introduced to the show. So that's the reason why it's probably one of my favourite moments from the season, and also the fact that it's a character that doesn't speak and writes notes to everybody just made him even cuter.
I thought that was hilarious.
That's great.
I absolutely love it.
Drawing.
I think you were saying to me earlier, is this like a character choice, or did the kid just have a really hard time remembering his lines because he looked really creepy, so they wanted to keep him?
I love that.
I was like, it could have gone either way. He's a little kid.
I love that idea. I know he's actually a stage actor and has done a lot of musicals in the past. So maybe his voice just wouldn't work without him singing every line. Maybe that was going to be the other option for them. But I loved him drawing little handman and little stick men and writing lines.
I think my favorite was when he did the picture "Kidnapped."
Yes.
I was like, they waited long enough for you to do that?
That's fantastic. Yes.
Yeah, he could have joined in with Professor Pig for the Meat Pie Tango. He could have let his vocal cords really go there.
I did like the whole conceit of the character, though, because it felt very comic book because it was so visual. You know, I could totally see a character like that popping up in any DC comic book any day of the year.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with that. It sometimes they really hit the nail on something absolutely right for Gotham, and sometimes it feels pulled from the comics, and sometimes they get the balance right completely.
Yeah, and of course we thought we'd lost little Martine in that big bad kind of bomb explosion, and then you realise that actually Big Penguin, Daddy Penguin, has got a big heart there for people that he's kind of trusts and knows will be loyal. So I really like that dynamic as well, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was like when the bomb went off in the car, I was like, great, awesome, vicious Penguin is back, baby. And then when the reveal happened and you saw the kid was still alive, it was like, oh, Penguin, he does have a heart.
The only man disappointed with somebody having a heart, Bill Meeks. Really.
You can put that on my gravestone.
I like it.
This man was disappointed by people with feelings.
And I have to say, the fact that you pointed that out, Bill, this is the first season we've been able to watch live as it airs on Fox. And having that moment where the explosion goes off before an ad break, I absolutely was going, they've just killed a kid on this show. Second kid this season. as well after Alex.
Well,
So-
I think Anne Marie has a confession related to this, don't you?
Oh, you're really going to call me out?
Yeah, I'm really going to call
Okay.
you out.
So when it was first airing, I may have fallen asleep during that point, and when we were rewatching, I completely didn't realize that Martine lived.
And she was like, "Oh yeah, it's so sad he died." And I was like, "He didn't die. No, they can't." And she was like, "No, he died." And I was like, "Just keep watching."
No way. I love it.
yeah, it was,
Well,
Right.
imagine how much worse it would have been if Legends of Gotham was going on and you went into the podcast thinking that Martine had died.
Very
that would
true.
have been very Amarin. That would have been very Amarin.
That would have been a classic Legends of Gotham moment.
It
Absolutely.
would have been.
Yeah. Okay, I think it's one last round.
I think we can do one last round.
One
Can
last round.
Can we get one last round out of everybody?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, on our final round, Anne-Marie, what's one of your big bangs of the first part of season 4?
I love when random officer number 65 rips up the crime license and says that they aren't accepting them anymore. I was like, yes!
Oh, yes.
Finally, after 4.5 years, somebody is on Jim's side. He gets a tiny victory. They are not all pawn scum of Gotham. And he has backup other than the strike force who will die.
Yeah.
So it was just it was a nice victory for Jim to see somebody without being prompted to take that step.
That was nice, wasn't it? Finally, after so many seasons of going, is Jim just doing everything wrong here? Or does anybody think he's doing something right? It must be quite difficult for the character to actually just keep pushing through his moral compass, as John likes to call it, where he just keeps going, I'm just going to do to want to save the city. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
Jim,
nobody's supporting him.
Yeah. Jim, I think, is probably the worst detective in the world, but... But he actually redeemed himself, I think, towards the end of this first half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fairness to him, I do like his writing and directing. I was really impressed with Ben McKenzie, doing those 2 episodes and then directing one of them. I thought that was really cool. And they seem to really work because I actually felt it kind of did focus in a bit more on Jim. It kind of zoomed in. Obviously, he's writing for himself, and he's kind of going, I need to solve a case, or, something like this. And it's kind of like, and he does it. And I thought it worked really well, that episode.
Yeah.
Which ones were those, or which one was that again? Just refresh my memory, because, like I said, we just binged all of these over the past 24 hours.
Go on, John.
A Dark Knight, The Demon's Head.
Yeah, he wrote Demon's Head and directed These Delicate and Dark Obsessions.
Yes.
Oh, that's last season.
That was last season.
Okay.
Yeah. Which was excellent.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it really was.
It's where Alex gets killed by
Alex gets killed.
Ra's
Yeah.
al Ghul,
Okay.
which I think we've all mentioned as a little moment
At some
in our
point
top
or
five.
another.
Yeah, I know.
There you go. So that's how good the episode was by Ben McKenzie.
Well, it's a weird thing when you kill an innocent kid, people just can't let it go.
Crazy.
Just remember it. Yeah, forever.
So, Bill, what's one of your top points?
It actually relates to Jim Gordon. And it was when Jim and apologies if you guys have to beat this out, he kind of screwed over Harvey. They've been walking back sort of the moral turnaround that Harvey Bullock as a character made over the first couple seasons since season 3. And so it's nice to finally have Jim as a character see that as well. Because, I mean, they've had their differences, but at the end of the day, Jim was always like, Harvey's a good guy. He's going to have my back. He's going to do the job. And I think this moment is when he realized, no, wait a second. Harvey isn't doing the job. And no matter how much I'm being manipulated into this position as captain, I have to take it because the GCPD is dead if Harvey Bullock's in charge of it.
Yeah.
And it just kind of drew out to me that Harvey as a character sort of lives in fear. And that fear ended up getting a bunch of cops killed, along the way. And he doesn't really want to take responsibility for his actions. He makes these decisions very assuredly, but then the second they blow up in his face, he disappears. He's in his office drinking whiskey. So, well, I don't know where this is going to land the the Jim Harvey dynamic, that dynamic duo dynamic for the rest of the season. I did think it was very cool to see Jim finally call him out on his crap and, step into a more leadership role within the GCPD. So that was one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. You've stolen one of my points as well, Bill. I like that's two people now. Anne-Marie, thank you so much for not stealing any of my
You're
points.
welcome.
To be fair, I skipped one of my points. You know what it was called? The meat pie ting.
There you go. Okay,
You stole one
okay, we're quits then. Yeah, absolutely. But I really agree with you though. I thought and I mean we actually had done it on the podcast. We were doing Bullockism of the week. In a sense, I think we really felt that season 1 we saw Harvey drinking the Pepsi Bismol. We see him being fairly dubious character and so on, and then he kind of just was always there for Jim and was just in some ways delivering this comedy line each time, and there was nothing as per se wrong with that at all, but it was actually really nice to see this partnership kind of really get jeopardized, really. And I think just moving on from what you had said there, Bill, about Jim sticking it to Harvey, I think moving on and just the reverse of that, when Jim was in that position and he had to dance with the devil, I suppose, in the pale moonlight, and where's he gonna go? And he chose Sophia, and ultimately she didn't turn out in the way that he was hoping, and then started to sort of push against that. Okay, it was maybe a bit mean of Harvey to come in at Falcone's funeral and effectively say, "I told you so." But
right.
I think the way in which he delivered it, I think it really put further kind of tension between these two people as well. In that, you're judging me, I'm judging, it's really become a bit more sort of uneven, this relationship now. You don't quite know whether they even trust one another anymore, because they're both feeling maybe slightly betrayed to some extent by each other in terms of what they've done. Harvey automatically thought he would have the back of Jim, and he pulls that rug from under him. And then rather than Harvey supporting Jim, although he does a little bit, he kind of really just sticks the knife in again and says, "I told you there would be a price for this," And I thought that was excellent. So definitely with you there, Bill. Yeah.
Yeah, one would hope that, they've had their ups and downs before, that their relationship would rally before the end of the season. But if by the same token, their dynamic in the comics and Batman, the animated series, everything else, it's always been sort of uneasy. So maybe this is like the origin of that uneasiness between them.
That's a really good point. Yeah, it's almost like, in the comics or in the other versions of these two characters, it's very much just felt like boss and subordinate. There's never been this huge they're best friends when they go out for a couple of drinks. Afterwards, that was very much a Gotham creation. So it's possible we won't get Jim and Harvey back together on the same side or going out for drinks again. That would be very sad.
I mean, that's not going to stop Harvey from going out for drinks.
That's very true.
I mean, they're not going to go together.
No.
Yeah,
and Jim pulling his whiskey out from the drawer of his captain's desk. I'm sure that might happen once or twice as well. John, was that your last point for the round table?
It was one of my points.
Okay.
As always, I have way more than I should have.
You are a cheater.
And we've already covered Martine, and then Alex has been thrown in the mix there, and he was another one. I kind of liked how he really got to David Mazouz, to the young Bruce Wayne here, that he felt so responsible for the death of this kid by Ra's al Ghul. But that's by and by.
Okay.
Zaz is back.
There
Victor
you go.
Zaz is back.
And you've stolen mine.
Yes, exactly. So now we're quits. I really liked that he was back. He puts a smile on my face. He does crazy stuff. I mean, there was a lot of comedy there, but done in I thought, a really nice way with Victor Zaz. And I think then to get that final moment with him, which was just the icing on the cake for me, where he says, Oswald's a cobblepot, you're a Falcone, as he kind of, bends the knee to Sophia Falcone after her, wicked chess move on the board that is Gotham City, to take out Jim Gordon. But the thing is, the juicy medium rare steak that is just waiting to happen is when he finds that she was the one that ordered the death of her own father. Mm-hmm. So, and I just think that's a good sort of bit of just messiness right there between these two characters that's just gonna, I think, probably play quite wonderfully in the future. And I think as well, just seeing him switch sides from being Cobblepot's right-hand man and effectively being treated pretty badly by Oswald.
He's the worst secretary.
The worst secretary ever, exactly. To where, his kind of first allegiance to the Falcone and adding that bullet casing to the coffin of Carmine, I just thought was really good. So yeah, he had his laughs, he had his moments of craziness, he had his moments of violence, but there was also that, I think, that really good character element where, he betrays Oswald and comes back into the Falcone fold, really. So that was one of the big positives for this first half of the season.
Totally agree.
I really like what you say there about, him potentially finding out about Sophia's involvement in Carmine's death. Because the one thing that's always bothered me a little bit about Zsasz is, as you guys know from the comics, he's not exactly a professional hitman. He's more of a sadistic serial killer.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I've always thought, I wonder when that switch is going to flip and what's going to cause it to flip. And that feels like a really strong motivation that's been set up, the entire series for him to kind of do that flip, being betrayed like that. I really like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good, John.
Why, thank you.
I'm impressed. The one thing that was missing
Get
from
a gold star.
Gold star. The one thing that was missing from Zsasz this season, though, was the Zazettes.
Yeah, the Zazettes have gone, I think.
Yeah, I think they've just left him behind when he
Yeah.
went.
Oh, they'll
joined
be
Oswald.
back. They'll
Yeah.
have a new brand anyway.
I'm sure. Sure he will.
So, Derek, what's your final big point for this first half of the season?
Hastily looking for things we haven't covered is my big point right now. Sophia probably is one thing that stood out to me as actually being quite interesting throughout the season. Her manipulation of Jim that was only revealed at the end of the season it took a long time throughout the show, and I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, I suppose, waiting for the realization of what is her actual plan. For the actual decision to make her plan that she's going to lead the criminal side of Gotham as long as Jim is in her pocket and captain of the GCPD turned out to be a really good reveal. In the end, after so many episodes, it did feel like they were pushing a lot of that story to the side and keeping it going for a lot longer than I would have wanted. But it's a 22 episode show, so they do have to fill up the air in those kind of episodes. So I liked that it kept coming back to it over and over again. And I liked how manipulative she ended off being and how intelligent and smart she ended off being, using the sirens on her side, using Professor Pig on her side, having Zsasz on her side by the end of the season. All of these things does show that she is the Falcone for Gotham. She's the one that's going to be the leader of the Falcone crime family now that her father is sadly murdered by her.
Yeah, pretty ruthless.
Yeah, I was a little uneven on Sophia in the first half of the season, but the kind of watershed moment that really won me over on her was the torture scene with the dentist, and you realize that, she's Penguin from season 1. She's 20 steps ahead of everybody else, and you finally see that mask drop, and you see kind of like the vicious gangster she is come through.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a great moment, actually.
Definitely. That was one of my other points that we didn't get to.
Oh, shoot. Almost stole it. Well, I suppose on that note, that's our kind of top 4 each, I suppose. So you're getting quite a significant bundle here, listeners. We normally do just top 5 points, and we've done 16 there.
Yeah, exactly. But our next point, is there anything else that we're missing? So, roll dentist drill.
I have things So we never mentioned Ivy in any way, shape, or form. Is
No.
that because we're getting her replaced again?
Maybe.
Possibly.
She was boring.
There was
because they didn't give her anything to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There was a lot of wheel spinning that happened this season after recasting the
Yeah.
character. You'd expect that they recast it for a purpose, and sadly, Maggie had to only spent a very short amount of time revealing the fact that she has changed from Claire Foley and from our original Poison Ivy.
Well, it was kind of, we saw her taking on all the potions, the sort of Far Eastern potions, and then we didn't really see it, and then
That was it.
that's it. And it's kind of like, I was just really enjoying, I loved her dynamic with Penguin, where she's helping him find out who's betrayed him from the previous season. I thought, you were kind of there just on the cusp of going, oh, we're starting to see Poison Ivy really integrate here, and then we're going to see the change, and we kind of saw the start of that, and then it was nothing, and it was okay, and then another recast. So yeah,
And I feel like they have to do the recast because they didn't use her as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she definitely was old enough to do whatever they were going to try and do, and I just feel like they didn't give her enough, so the actress was like, bye, I'm going to go find something that'll actually use me.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a strong possibility. We know from covering the show over the years that a lot of times they have really solid plans that get bumped a season or an episode or a couple seasons.
Yeah.
So I feel like what might have happened is they came up with this decision like, okay, well, we can't have the girl who's playing Ivy Pepper become sexy seductress Poison Ivy because that would be really weird and creepy.
Yeah.
So let's cast an older actress and we'll bring her in and she'll be really prominent. And then they're like, oh, wait a second, but we want to do Professor Pig or some other reason. So they probably just kept holding her back, and eventually, actresses have to work. So she found another job, so they had to recast again.
Yeah, totally agree. It's either that or by season 8 she's going to be played by Betty White. With one or the other.
One other possibility that kind of flitted past my mind is just that when she initially turned older, she was the actress was very much kind of taking on the characteristics and the personality of the child actor who played Ivy Pepper at first, and maybe they thought it would be too harsh of a transition to make her full on, sexy, dangerous Poison Ivy, considering that, for the first several episodes she was in it, she was kind of playing a kid version of Poison Ivy.
But she still had that seductive, murderousness in those early episodes.
Yeah, it was kind of like the kid was still caught within the grown-up's body. And I thought that was a really interesting way of doing it. And I thought, in terms of the transition, then it was, she gets a full bang of those potions, and then you would get that full transition. And that's the thing. It always felt that, unfortunately, this character was just in a transition. And for Maggie Gyllenhaal, who played her, she's not been able to take it through to the logical kind of conclusion that it seemed like that's where it was going, and then got the recast. But yeah.
There you go. We will see
There you go.
Peyton List coming up hopefully later on the season, and hopefully they'll give her a lot more to do as the character, because Poison Ivy is a critical character really in the history of Batman. There's lots of really interesting stories that she has coming up, so hopefully they set her up well for use in the series as one of the big villains.
Yeah, and Mad Hatter didn't really have that much in this first half either, but I'm hoping really to see him in that second half, when I suppose the bad guys assemble. Really?
Yes, bad guys assemble.
Bad guys assemble.
Yeah.
There's no copyright on that, is there? No.
I hope not.
Anything else we might have missed, Anne-Marie, Bill?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I think we got all the big bits. Just again, that last minute reveal with Jerome in the cell next to Penguin. Just with how psychotic this Penguin is, and how psychotic naturally Jerome or the Joker is. It's the tease of that dynamic moving forward. It was very interesting, and I'm very interested to see how those characters play off each other. Moving forward.
Especially as Oswald is effectively becoming Arya Stark with his list of people he's going to kill when he gets out of Arkham Asylum. And that's the moment that Jerome chooses to pounce and try and propose a friendship between them. That's going to be a lot of fun to see.
There is one other thing that we've forgotten about, actually.
All right, Tom.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That's Myrtle Jenkins, who breaks the Riddler out of his ice prison. Like, in fairness, I was sad that she was lost so quickly from the show. I really enjoyed the Riddle fan. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Like that whole character's deal was exactly what me and Anne-Marie thought Kristen Kringle was going to be, where she was like, "Oh, I'm the female Riddler, and we're going to go have all sorts of fun crime adventures." Yeah, so great to see.
She lovingly
Definitely wanted her to be.
Yeah. I mean, she lovingly tended to the Edsicle, and then effectively he killed her.
Yeah, yeah. Book to the face, if I remember right.
Book to the face, which was comedy genius in itself.
Yes, Myrtle Jenkins sadly missed from the show. Yes, she was. It was a lot of fun for that episode. She just came out of nowhere, and I did feel moments. And I know you guys used to live tweet episodes and are definitely a part of the Gotham fandom. There are one or two characters in the Gotham fandom that this may have been based on. Or that I may have met at conventions over the years. Maybe not.
What are you
just
talking
Gotham.
about? I've never seen anyone get creepily obsessed with Corey Michaels. Ever.
No.
Ever.
No. I just have a feeling that even though he didn't get a writing credit, he may have been able to give some input into.
Absolutely. But it is that one thing as well, I think, that Gotham can do really well, which, from left field, out pops this really interesting character. Completely cookie, completely balmy, absolutely off her rocker, but she just steals the limelight. You just immediately are bought into it because I think of how Gotham can balance absolute, real dark humor with kind of horror, a lot of blood, along with some just really solid writing. It reminds me of the crazy lady in the attic with the birds from, was it season 2?
Oh, yeah.
I think, I can't remember for the life of me. She, to me, was another Myrtle Jenkins. And they always seem to be kooky ladies, but I really thought there was just like this breath of just fun that got through on that episode.
That's one of the nice things about them basing all the production of this in New York City is they can get all of these great stage actors who have sort of that Gotham-esque, facing the audience presentational style of acting that works so great for these smaller roles that, any other show like a Law & Order SVU would just cast John, Jackie, Joe, blonde guy down the street to play a role. Gotham, they go and they tap these people who just have a very rich sort of stage persona that they can bring to the character and really bring it to life and differentiate it from other, small time characters like the guy running the Walmart for weapons, all that kind of even this season, the dentist and Oswald's, I forget his name, but the accountant, the guy who kept track of all the licenses and everything. Yes. Two great, solid character actor performances. Definitely. And it's just so great that they have access to that resource being in New York.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mr. Penn is the new right-hand man for Oswald. Last seen being tortured by Tabitha. Sadly.
Yes.
But as it should be.
The pen was heading where the sun don't shine.
Something like that, John. Yes. That kind of leads me on to my only other note, and kind of a hope for next season is my final note about what we're missing, which is the Sirens. I really loved the team up of these characters. I loved the team up of having Selena Kyle, Tabitha, and Babs together, working together, even though they've got an uneasy alliance. But they had some great moments in the season, but just feel like they just need a little bit more. So one of my hopes for the next half of the season is that we're going to get much more of the Sirens working together, doing jobs, taking down banks, pulling heists, that kind of stuff potentially. I'd like to see them have an episode focused on those three characters together and how they play off each other.
Yeah, and Barbara needs to kind of really, she must in some way be driving the return of Ra's al Ghul maybe, or that whole sort of elixir that got passed, and that spirit or whatever got passed to her, that's surely got to start to come through.
Yeah.
And she's going to have a new haircut because I think she does every half season.
She does,
so.
Yes.
Oh, hush!
But it is fabulous.
Definitely. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention that me and Emery kept joking about while we were rewatching was the fact that Sophia Falcone, for some reason, seems to like to cut like a triangle out of the front of all of her shirts and dresses, and I think it spread out over to Barbara too, because we noticed a couple of Barbara's outfits this season had the same thing going on. So maybe Sophia's sneaking into her wardrobe or something. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I love it.
I didn't notice that at all. So
You haven't.
I'll have to check.
You haven't been looking at the triangular area.
No, I haven't.
Anybody else got anything that they're hoping for the next half of the season? I know, Bill, you were talking about the meetup of Jerome and Oswald. Anne-Marie, anything that's standing out for you that might be coming up? Or that you hope might be coming?
My hope was the trio of ladies, so you got me covered there.
There you go. John, anything for you that's...
I think I really I want to see the Mad Hatter back. I love that character. It's kind of, who is Jerome going to assemble? I mean, I don't want to jump the gun, but I do feel that is kind of, there's going to be this dark army of Gotham villains that sort of unite and so on. And certainly, at least starting in Arkham Asylum, he's got the Penguin. But I mean, there's just been so many good bad guys with Jerome himself, Oswald, Corey Michael Smith as Enigma and the Riddler. And I mean, I love the Mad Hatter. He's one of my favorite characters. I loved how he was portrayed in the previous season. Love to see him back with Scarecrow. We've got the Toymaker coming in as well. At least that's one other that we know of.
Well, with the Toymaker coming, that just means we've only got a few more seasons till Condom King finally makes his appearance on Gotham.
One day, give me my mustard.
So I really, that's what I'm hoping of for some of those really great actors that have played some really great proto-villains of the Batman just step forward with Jerome and Oswald here.
It would be nice even if there was like one scene in the finale where it's like every villain we've seen the entire series, like anywhere down from, the guy that was dressed up as the crazy superhero guy from Galavan back in season 2. Just there's been such a wide breadth of characters on this show so far that it would be great to see them all assembled for one, final face-off with the GCPD or something.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And also that my theory from season 1 is finally proved correct. That Killer Croc comes from beneath the sewers. It's never happened. There was a tease by Gotham that maybe he was there with Indian Hill and all the biological experiments being done, but instead, no, it was more of a dinosaur kind of thing, a stegosaurus.
Yeah. I still say that it was intended to be Killer Croc, but then they realized they were using him in Suicide Squad, and DC had the weird rule about not using multiple characters and multiple different interpretations of the character. So I think that was supposed to be, and then it wasn't.
Yeah. And he looked good just before he got run over by a truck. So yeah. Killed Croc, exactly.
We now refer to him.
That's the Gotham version. Killed Croc.
We now refer to him in the past tense.
Yes. On that, anything else that we need to talk about, or can we pop on to our final little touch with our little bit of feedback?
Yeah.
Everybody happy?
We're good.
Okay, cool. Right, let's get on to a little bit of feedback that we got in. First piece of feedback comes from Charlotte Bain over in our Facebook group.
Yeah, Charlotte goes, I can't wait to see Zaz's reaction to Sophia killing her own father. Grundy and Ed are priceless, and Lee completes the group. I'm very happy about Lucius being more active in the GCPD as well, and Bruce's life. Like a good uncle. The Sirens, I love them. I thought of them working with Lee too. We'll see Selina will definitely freak out over Ivy and her manipulative and murderous ways. I wonder about Tabitha too. If Grundy gets his memory back, Ed will be done. Oh my god, love. #Gotham. Yes, thank you, Charlotte.
That's how you sum up half a season in a couple of paragraphs, John.
Absolutely.
I am very impressed.
I mean, definitely, it'll be interesting to see how Selina sort of how Selena and Ivy's relationship plays out. And actually, just mentioning Tabitha there, I loved the idea that Tabitha was going to kind of teach Selena, and that didn't really happen either. Where kind of Tabitha throws her signature whip and tells Selena to practice over on the bottle, and she gets it in one. And I was thinking, again, the Tigress creating Catwoman, I thought would have been really interesting to see. And whilst they were obviously together in the Sirens, they didn't. There wasn't really that kind of teacher-student relationship. It would kind of been similar to Alfred and Bruce.
Yeah, it wasn't set up in like episode 2 of the season, and then they didn't appear again until episode 5, and you just assumed while they were off screen. I guess that's what they were doing.
Yeah, so that was kind of. I wish that had happened, definitely.
I really hope that at some point we find out whatever happened to Silver St. Cloud, because she was related to Tabitha. They took off on those, hang gliders or whatever, and then we never saw her again.
She pitched down in the Atlantic Ocean. She's gone.
she was pushed out the window on a parachute.
Yeah.
As far as
I think we talked about that in one of our podcasts. Actually, it was like, is she still floating down to the ground serenely?
The air in Gotham is very thick. It takes a while.
It does. What makes it actually worse is I think I actually spoke to the actress who played Silver St. Cloud and asked her about that. And she said, well, I might return in future. But she's off getting mutant powers ungifted now.
It'd kind of be like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. She'll suddenly come crashing through a window on a parachute, kicking someone who is about to take out Tabitha across the room and something. And it'll be like the longest ever setup.
That would be pretty impressive.
Or she's been sitting on the steps outside of Bruce's school waiting for him, and he just never showed up because he's too busy being Paris Hilton.
That's true.
Because he doesn't go to school anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, or the alternative is the parachute never opened and she just splattered on the pavement.
Oh dear. Gotham would have showed that, though, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
They'd have been proud of that one.
In graphic detail.
Absolutely. Would you guys want to take the next piece of feedback? Anne-Marie, do you want to take Claire Payne?
Oh, sure. Gosh, so many moments. The meat pie tango was superb. Professor Pig was excellent, completely different to how I expected him to be. Clever casting of an actor who had to be completely theatrically different to the rest of the Gotham cast. So true.
Absolutely.
Definitely loved the Professor Pig, one of my top moments for sure. And yeah, just what he brought. I suppose, as you were saying, Bill, you can see the theatre coming out from the actor here in his portrayal. In fact, I think he had played Sweeney Todd as well.
Am I wrong, or is he the same guy who voices Professor Pig in the Arkham games? I thought I had heard that. I could be wrong. I don't think
it is. No, I think this was the first time he'd played the character in the role in Gotham.
Okay, gotcha. I was wrong.
That's all right. They definitely took some inspiration for the look from the Arkham games, though. Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Okay, another comment you guys have here. I had this feeling Sophia was connected to Pig in some way, but the reveal she hired him was brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I never saw that coming.
No,
nope,
not at all.
Which we all should have, because she's playing 10th dimensional chess.
Yes.
Yeah. That is absolutely. She's in Star Trek and everyone else is in Star Wars. Yeah, definitely. Claire goes, every single scene Jim and Harvey have done together since episode 1, the slow tension building up in their working relationship was brilliant to watch. And of course, heartbreaking to the moment that Jim fires him as captain. We've had some really good introduction of new characters this season as well. Some have stayed longer than others. Myrtle Jenkins was a complete surprise and a delight as Ed's #1 fan, working out the Penguin's movements so she could defrost him. Ed's reaction to Myrtle was perfect.
You see, just a total standout character. Great moment in the season. Mm-hmm. Claire goes on to say, Mr. Penn, hopefully he's still around and see a bit more of him the rest of the season. I've said it before, but simply the bravest man in Gotham. Not only Oswald's #1 guy, but he has to deliver such bad news to Oswald in episode 8. Yeah. Oswald's never very good at bad news, and he did let Mr. Penn live, so hopefully we'll see him back next season.
No, Robin Lord Taylor definitely leaned into his petulant toddler, freakouts this season.
Oh yes, you wanted a war, you've got a war.
Yeah, he loved doing those. Yeah. Claire also goes, Martin was fantastic plot character again, partly orchestrated by Sophia, but Martin wanting to stick with Oswald. Not only was Martin cute, he was also brought out a slightly comedic side in Oswald, which has been fun to watch. Cherry as well as a character with such striking, intense style that stood out in the darkness of the Fight Club. We didn't really get to know her, but it was clear she only cared about winning fighters and not necessarily the people of the Narrows. Yeah, absolutely. Forgot about Cherry, actually, in the Cherry Bomb Fight Club. Dispatched by Leslie, showing a bit of a ruthless, bloody side to her as well.
Oh yeah, isn't that the first time she's directly killed somebody when she wasn't under the influence of the...
But she didn't kill her. She took down Firefly and Babs struck
Oh
her.
yeah,
That's right.
That's true.
Which was kind of entertaining to see the two of them, in essence, team up for a hot second.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Sorry, my bad there. Yeah, she took out Firefly, and then, yes, Babs decided she had enough of Cherry Bomb.
That's right. Perhaps we'll see a team up between the two of them and Sophia. As all former lovers of Jim Gordon team up together.
The ex-girlfriends club.
Exactly. Yeah. And finally, Claire Payne says, the welcome return on the good decision in giving Zaz more screen time was spot on. It was Zaz's grief for Falcone and not being convinced the Penguin wasn't behind his death. It's going to be so interesting to see if Zaz will support Sophia, if and when he finds out it was Sophia had her father killed. Characters working together has worked extremely well this season. Loved Tabitha and Selena. Tabitha mentoring Selena is working in the right way, with Barbara joining them to make a trio. Does work. The look on their faces when they see Ed and Grundy and Sherry at Sherry's Fight Club is perfect. Barbara catching up with Leslie was another highlight of episode 8. Could the sirens be useful to Leslie in future episodes? Absolutely. Yeah?
That would be an interesting relationship for sure.
They could become the enforcers for the Tompkins Fight Club, as it probably is going to be called.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope they strike out and strike fear, to be honest. Yeah. I think it's a good... it's a good grouping of these ladies in Gotham for me. I really enjoy it, and I think as you said, Derek, I think just Leslie Tompkins as a character having room to breathe away from Jim Gordon, as has happened with Barbara. But whenever they see Jim, there are touch points back to that. It is really good. I think it really helps with their characters.
Yeah, it's also kind of interesting, that all three of them are characters who sort of they had these deep relationships with different male characters on the show, and those have all sort of dissolved, so they've all sort of banded together. I kind of like that dynamic.
Yeah. Absolutely agree.
Yeah, and so finally from Claire, Grundy, Ed, and Leslie, another perfect team up. I am very excited to see how Lee and Ed run the Narrows. Tabitha's determination to make Grundy remember he used to be Butch, another highlight from the first half of the season. Lucius helping out Bruce and Alfred with rock climbing equipment was just cool. He knows they're up to something, but what exactly he doesn't know yet. Lucius, what we have seen of him has been really good. He's showing his skills at the GCPD in what he knows, but being able to go and liaise with the other GCPD professionals makes his place at the GCPD believable. Yeah, it's kind of interesting how we've not really touched on Lucius, but yeah, he's muscling his way into both the precinct there in Gotham, but also with Bruce Wayne and Alfred. I think it's really be interesting in terms of how will Ed, now that he's seeing double again in the mirror and his other personality is starting to come out, I wonder whether Grundy, Ed, and Leslie are going to be another perfect team up moving forward.
Yeah. Not sure that's going to end too well. Excellent. But that is all of our feedback. Thank you so much, Claire. Thank you so much, Charlotte, for that feedback. I only put it out last night, so quite impressed to get that amount of feedback in overnight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bill and Anne-Marie, thank you so much for joining us for an extended episode, an extended discussion about Gotham Season 4. Always good to hear your thoughts since we don't get to hear them weekly anymore. Can we just call up after every episode and just ask you what your thoughts are?
Absolutely. You have our private line. I mean, you guys are Bay to us.
Absolutely.
So.
Always. Anything that you're currently doing at the moment that you'd like to talk about?
I don't know about Anne-Marie, but I'm actually kind of starting to work on a podcast that actually, after we're done with the recording, I'd like to talk to you guys about. Very good. But
Yes.
I would watch my Twitter at Bill Meeks. There's probably going to be some announcements coming down the pike in the next month or so.
Excellent.
Okay, excellent.
We will certainly be checking that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anne-Marie, anything you want to talk about?
Nothing that your listeners would be terribly interested in.
We have a very diverse section of listeners, though, Anne-Marie.
Well, unless they're in Orlando, it unfortunately doesn't affect me.
Okay, perhaps not.
You can see us at Universal Studios every weekend for the
Almost
next year
every
because we have
weekend,
annual
yes.
passes.
Oh, fantastic.
Lucky ducks, absolutely.
I love it. And listeners, thank you so much, as always, for joining us for Gotham TV Podcast. As I said, we will be back later this week with our interview with David Mazouz, and we'll be back for Season 4, Episode 12, Pieces of a Broken Mirror, just after the 1st of March when the episode airs. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast over at GothamTVPodcast.com. Loads of subscribe links there, and if you want to find us on any good or evil podcast catcher, you can just type in Gotham TV Podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Anne-Marie and Bill, for joining us. It's been really good fun. Really enjoyed hearing your thoughts on season 4 so far of Gotham. It's just been it's been a good hoot. And as always, thank you so much to the listening as well.
Well, definitely thank you guys for taking the hint that we wanted you to invite us on. So.
Yes, thank you for having us on. We appreciate it.
Love us. We will talk to you again very soon.
Yeah. Speak to you next time. Bye.
Say bye, Bill and Anne-Marie.
Bye!
Thanks for being a Butch supporter. Butch loves you, baby.
Which ones were those, or which one was that again? Just refresh my memory, because like I said, we just binged all of these over the past 24 hours.
Go on, John.
Well, this is a classic Gotham TV podcast moment where I can't remember.
Oh, you mean where we edit out the part that you don't remember and put in the part where you do? Is that?
I can't remember. It was a day in the Narrows.
I think it was episode
Oh, I
7,
love that one.
I think.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
But I will actually.
But we are just going to search
Gonna
because
pause this and search.
So
You guys are going to search your minds, not Google.
That's
no,
right.
absolutely.
Come up with the answer completely organic.
I am.
See, this is what we call watch us Google things.
Yeah. I'm going to do a Julie Andrews recall moment, I think. It's taking longer than expected, Julie.
IMDb.
It always does. When you need it the most, it always takes the longest it ever takes.
Every time. And what makes it worse is I just looked up Jim Gordon directed episodes of Gotham. apparently Jim Gordon hasn't directed any episodes of Gotham. Did you know that?
Well, he actually hopped on the cosmic treadmill one time and came to Earth Prime, and he did one episode. But, it was the Balloon Man episode. No one liked it.
No one liked it, exactly.
Oh, yes.
Except for me.
Yeah, I was about to say, except for you.
Yes, I was just going to say that's kind of like a flashback to a place in Gotham that I didn't want to go to, is the Balloon Man. Yeah, Julie's not working at all. Julianne.
Okay, so
That's fair. That's fair. It was he did
Wrote
all of the
4.
episodes, right? Ben McKenzie wrote and directed all of the episodes. He also he is David Mazouz.
just puts on the wig.
He just stands on his knees and he has a mask.
Yes.
He wrote
A Dark Knight,
IMDb,
The Demon's Head.
Yeah, he wrote Demon's Head and directed These Delicate and Dark Obsessions.
Yes.
No, that's something else.
Oh, that's last season.
That was last season.
Okay.
Yeah. Which was excellent.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it really was.